reacting to your comments, people. Once again, we are Tottenham Army, so strong, beautiful people. Let's see what you've been reacting to, and let's see what you've been commenting.
Yes, there's been a lot of Ange in and Ange out debates over the last few days, and we're just reacting to a lot of these comments that you've left over these debates and see what the comments think. First of all, MJB THFC 1991 says, we have to be thankful for Ange for delivering a major trophy, but can't ignore not reaching 40 points in a Premier League season. I understand if they give Ange another shot, but also sacking him is more than understandable. Also, the uncertainty isn't ideal, but we did sign Jan Vertonghen at the same time. Harry Redknapp was sacked, so I'm sure players are being targeted already. So he's saying we signed Vertonghen when we missed out on Champions League, so we can get good players, he's saying, even if we did miss out.
Yeah, I do feel like this kind of thing about Champions League and non-Champions League, I think it's a bit of a myth in terms of signing big players. We signed Cuti Romero in the Conference League. And name me one season where we've finished in the Champions League and it's actually kicked us on to be able to sign like really good players. I don't think there's ever been one.
I think it's a myth for Tottenham, but as a rule for clubs, it's not a myth.
But look at Manchester United. They've got no European football next season. They're signing Cunha. They're potentially signing Mbeumo. You know what I mean? They're getting really good players where we're sitting here twiddling our thumbs. So I do think it's a bit of a myth. And I think if you can sell a project and you give good, decent wages, you can get the players in.
Yes, but I do think it helps when you've got Champions League football. I don't think it's a myth. I think you do see a lot of clubs kick on when they get Champions League football, and it does basically
like
mean...
who, though? Who's kicked on,
you
really?
Villa, Newcastle. Like, you've seen it. Would Newcastle get Tonali and people like that if they didn't get Champions League football? Like, I'm telling you, like, a lot of clubs do kick on, just Tottenham don't. It's a Tottenham thing.
It's a Tottenham thing.
Yeah, I think it's more of a Tottenham thing. Yeah, I'm not saying... Look, no one's saying it's impossible to get a good player if you miss out on Champions League. But I think when you get Champions League, it's an opportunity to really go for players that you might not have been able to get if you weren't in there. So I think it's not. I don't think it's a myth, but I do think definitely I agree with you. When it comes to Tottenham themselves, they don't take full advantage of getting in that competition. 100%.
And what was the comment he made about Ange there in that?
He said, we have to be thankful, but I just can't ignore or look past not getting 40 points.
Yeah, and I think that's completely right, not to look past it and not to forget it, because you can't just give an automatic pass to the league season because we won the Europa League, 100%. However, the Europa League just buys him that more time, in my opinion. And I think it's only right to carry on for him for delivering such success to this football club. But that doesn't say that he's not walking a tightrope for next season.
No, he understands. He must understand that league form is, for a club like us, it is completely unacceptable, and we can't allow ourselves to be that low down in the league for sure.
Ever again.
For 100%. But you also got to realise that the way the season went, especially those last 2 months of the season, we pretty much just binned off the league. We were just saying, look, we're going to put all our eggs in the Europa League basket. And that was because, in my view, the injuries had completely derailed our Premier League season, which means by the time those injuries came back, we were pretty much nowhere in the league and we weren't getting anywhere. And I think it was the right thing to do what he did. And it did mean that we finished as low as we did. And obviously, even within that context that I'm saying, we probably should have picked up more points and won more games. But at the end of the day, I think it was the right way to go about it once those players came back.
Maybe it was the right way to go about it in that specific scenario, but we can't ever let that be a scenario ever again.
100%.
Like,
and we can't.
It's embarrassing where you're halfway through a season and you just completely bin off the league campaign to focus on a cup. Like,
it's embarrassing.
We need to be focusing on all fronts.
100%. But at the end of the day, we had 12 players missing for 3 months.
No, I get that.
You know what I mean? So it's an impossible situation.
No, that's why I'm saying it was the right decision.
Yeah.
I think it was the right decision at the time.
It's not like we were in that position because, like, for no reason, is my point.
No, I agree with that. And all I'm saying is we cannot ever let that happen again.
Agreed. And we have to learn mistakes from why all those players got injured, all that kind of stuff. Only MC4727 says, made a great point on TalkSport. If Ange feels like he needs to prioritise the UEFA over the league form, then how is he going to balance with Champions League football like Milan, PSG, Bayern and Madrid and Barca when another important 3 points on the weekend, you know?
Yeah, it's a good point, but We need to equip the squad well enough. This is what it all comes down to this season, is equipping the squad well enough that we can challenge on all fronts, that we can play a very strong team in the Champions League and back it up with a very strong team in the Premier League on the weekend. Like, if we were going to go into to next season with more or less the same squad, that's never going to happen.
Correct. Agreed.
So
any manager's going to need that. Yeah.
Exactly. We need big, heavy investment this summer to kick us on, to put us in a squad that's able to compete on all fronts.
And I just think the reality is, I think if during that period, that injury crisis, if our second team that we had shown more of an ability to get results, you know, on a more of occasion they did, maybe he wouldn't have done what he did, just completely play a second team in the Premier League. Maybe he would have done maybe a bit of a mishmash or whatever. But the reality is, the form was so bad when we had all those injuries. I think it just showed the second team was just not up for it. All the players coming in, they weren't up for, when they're all together, winning games consistently. And as much as it's hard to take, it wasn't a case of Ange himself not being able to balance. I just think the squad wasn't able to balance the both competitions this season. And obviously he's part of that failure, don't get me wrong, but I don't think it's like himself, he can't juggle two competitions. I just think the situation, we couldn't as a club juggle two competitions. And given that scenario, is like, okay, given the fact that we clearly can't, let's just go all in on that Europa League, because he said, we know if we do that, we're going to win that competition. We have a very good chance to win that competition.
Yeah, but I would say to that as well, when he was trying to balance it at the beginning stage of the season before the injuries came, the results still weren't consistently good enough.
It was fine though. It wasn't good. It wasn't good enough on the basis that we had quite a few defeats. But in terms of we were near the top of the Europa League and we were not doing that bad in the league. We were like 6th. So in terms of position, it's not like we were falling away or anything. We were in a fine position. We were balancing both. Maybe we could have had a few more wins in the Premier League. We had a few bad results. Don't get me wrong. We lost to Ipswich and stuff like that. But like the balance, we were doing a fine job balancing it.
Yeah, but we want to be.
There was a few games after Thursday we were losing.
We lost a lot after Thursday, and I didn't get it really because we were playing such a different team on the Thursday night to the Sunday, and then we would lose on the Sunday. So, look, even in that aspect, he needs to be able to manage the situation better, to get better performances after a Thursday to Sunday. So in that aspect, I don't think he was managing it that well. Obviously, it was nowhere near as bad as it ended up being after the injuries. Don't get me wrong, but there is a case to say that he needs to manage it better.
The Ice Phoenix says, but Ben, Sim, you can't ask for signings when you both said league results don't matter. It's over 3 million per position, so those results did matter. Ange must go. He's not the man to build with. We can't have a season like this again because next season we won't have the Europa to fall back on.
I don't think anyone has ever said the league doesn't matter. I think people towards the end of the campaign said the league doesn't matter because we're in a quarter-final, semi-final and final.
Because it didn't matter at that point.
Yeah, at that point it didn't matter. I don't think anyone's ever sat here at the beginning of a season and said, look, the league form don't matter this year, we're in the Europa League. Like, that's never been a situation. The only time it didn't matter is towards the end of the season when there's literally nothing to play for. We can't finish above 13th or 14th. And we've got big games coming in the Europa League. So obviously the Europa League have to take precedent at that point in time. So, look, everyone kind of says, like, in our comment section to us, like saying, oh, you accept Bailey, you accept 22 defeats or whatever it was, you accept 17th in the league. No one accepts that. No one accepts it. It's completely unacceptable what happened in the league this season. All we're saying is that we won the Europa League, that buys him more time, and he deserves to take that time for delivering such success to this football club.
And how often have we criticised this club or managers for resting players in cup games and going out to easy teams and playing their full strength team in the league just so they can maintain standards or whatever, go for a top, which is fine. Obviously, I'm not. It's not a criticism.
Not even resting players, but playing full strength team and the players not taking it seriously enough.
That as well. That's also happened. So all of a sudden, Ange has taken the opposite approach and gone full strength in this competition, and all of a sudden everyone becomes accountants and 3 million a position. Like all of a sudden that matters more than winning the Europa League, does it now? We're getting 3 million a position. That you care about the money that you get from league positions more than winning that trophy?
I've never ever heard about this thing about 3 million a position and counting that kind of money. Like we've literally just got Champions League revenue, 30 million for winning the Europa League. Like money ain't the issue right now.
Super Cup, we're getting a bit of money as well. Like We got some concerts. Don't worry. Beyonce's going to be raking it in. Don't you worry.
Can she play up front?
Can she? Exactly. So, like all of this stuff about, he missed out on all this money. The league position did matter. I'm sorry. Like, I don't know why you would care more about that than winning the Europa League. As if when Ange is factoring that in, he's like, okay, so I could go all in on Europa League, or I can go for these 3 million per league place, and now focus on that. It's like, obviously, we all want him to do the Europa League.
But all of you have been dying for a trophy for how many years? Everyone's been saying, oh, we don't care about top 4. We don't care about top 5. We want a trophy at this football club. We've got a trophy, guys. It's time to be happy. It's time to enjoy the moment. We're literally sitting here basking in the glory of a European title, and you want to moan about 3 million a position.
I mentioned it in the comments. I saw one guy in the live chat go, Sim, just get over it. Like, what? It's been 17 years, and it's just been a week since that trophy win. I'm not allowed to be happy for more than a week.
I ain't getting over it all summer.
Come on, get over it. What do you mean? We're still talking about 84. Get over it. For God's sake, I wasn't even born then. Get over it after a week.
Every week it goes Spurs. Oh, but that Gaza free kick against Arsenal.
Exactly. People still do the commentary of that 91 free kick. You want me to get over it, not just over a week? Come on.
Madness. Get over it. That is the most ridiculous statement I've ever heard.
It's ridiculous. DFIH5WL says, a part of me agrees that Spurs finally won a cup regardless of how we won it. However, I can't shake off how the team performed in the Premier League this season. 38 points is low enough to be relegated in many years. Spurs is lucky to win the final because we didn't play well, but the opponent is Man United, a team with super low confidence in front of goal and a manager who is lost and in doubt. I'm still Ange out and Levy out.
So what, is he just trying to diminish our success?
That's one thing I really hate, that the Spurs fans are trying to diminish the success that we've had and this achievement. They're trying to say all these different things about, look how bad the Europa League is this year. First of all, the Europa League, yes, it's not a rare occurrence that teams drop from the Champions League and win this Europa League, but it's only happened 7 times in the last 20. It's not like it happens every year. It's not like it's guaranteed, all right? So it's not like only you Champions League winners of Champions League dropouts win. And also, Champions League dropouts, they're not like the best teams always. Sometimes they are bad teams that drop in, okay? It's not like this silver bullet, like, oh, look, there's no Champions League dropouts, it means it's a shit Europa League. No, it's still a bloody hard competition to win.
Well, they drop in because they're failures.
Exactly.
That's why they drop in.
And there's still, as well, in this competition we've had, teams that are very high up in all the top 5 leagues, who are teams that are going to be playing Champions League football next season. Okay, they're going to be worthy of that competition I've been in, and haven't been able to win this competition.
Albeit won't do much in the Champions League.
What? The teams that have been, yeah, probably not, but still they're going to be playing there, all right, and they're going to be earning their place with their league position in their what's called league season. And in all top 5 leagues, there are teams that have finished fairly high up in their leagues who have been in this competition and haven't been able to win it. Regardless, people say, oh yeah, but how many of them did you play? That doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how many they played. They were in this competition. They didn't win it. Why didn't they win it? Because it's not easy.
Well, we played one in the semi-final, one in the quarter-final. They're both going to be in the Champions League next season.
Yeah, but as well, but it's irrelevant anyway. They were in the competition. No one says, like when Arsenal won the FA Cup and they played Wigan in the semis and Hull in the final, they didn't say, oh, how many of the players? They won it because everyone was in it and they couldn't win it, and Arsenal won it.
Why was this narrative not spin for that trophy when they won the FA Cup and Hull and Wigan?
Yeah, no one cared. Doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter
because it's a stupid narrative. This narrative that this competition is being diminished. It was a hard competition to win. Many good teams in this competition, and just because not all of the teams we had to play all of them, it's irrelevant because those teams we did play had to beat those teams.
It's only because we finished 17th.
Yeah, that's probably why. That is why. But those teams that you're talking about, they couldn't win this competition because it's hard to win. It's not easy to win. And also when people say, like, all I want is the Spurs to balance both the league and the cups and stuff, and I understand that. Obviously, we all want that. But no manager's been able to do that. Not one manager.
Koch was.
Yeah, but he never won a competition, so he wasn't.
He never won it, but he got to the Champions League final.
Yeah, but agreed. First of all, I was in his 5th season. But yeah, he did. Fair enough. But he never won it.
No.
As in, so...
Well, you're talking about Premier League era. We've only got 3 cup-winning managers.
That's the point. That's the point, because every time we've rested players in the cups, we've gone out because our second team's never been good enough. Whenever we've even chopped and changed, how many times have we embarrassed ourselves in cups? This is why I don't get it's like fans don't know who they're supporting. sometimes. It's like fans don't know who we are. Like, every time we have chopped and changed in the cups, even against the easiest of teams, Norwich, Sheffield United, Colchester, we've gone out and we've lost and embarrassed ourselves.
Again,
and again,
Zagreb,
and again,
Mura.
and again, and again. How much evidence do you need? So, to say him putting his first team in the Europa League, is like, you didn't want him to do that because we should be doing both. We've never been able to do both.
Yeah, but it's just because people just don't want to be happy. I feel like people just don't want to be happy. You're looking at, if it was the other way around, right? And let's say we went out to Frankfurt or we went out to Bodo and we made changes for these games and we were still keeping our first choice team in the Premier League. Everyone's like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Why are you not playing your first team in the Europa League when there's a trophy on the line?
They'll call him an idiot.
Exactly.
Yeah, they'll say, what the hell are you doing? Yeah,
Exactly.
100%. Everyone will be a meltdown.
And you're just like, what is going on with this fan base? Like, why can't we just sit here and just be happy for once? We've actually achieved something for once in our bloody lives.
And it's not even the rival fans diminishing. It's Tottenham fans who want the manager out who are diminishing the achievement that he has achieved.
I just don't get it.
I think it's absolutely
I just don't get it.
mind-boggling.
Literally, in the last week, I've been the happiest I've ever been as a Spurs fan. Literally, like my eyes have seen the glory of the Cups of White Hart Lane. Like I can actually sing that and not feel like a fraud for once in my life.
Exactly, we actually have. We've never, I'm seeing people. Yeah, we never finished 17th. It doesn't matter at that point. Yeah, if we didn't have that Europa League campaign, I'm sure we would have played all our first team in all these Premier League games, and the results would be much better. And we probably would have finished, maybe not top half. We probably would have finished like, lower mid-table, and it wouldn't have been that bad, as 17th. But Ange took the decision to do that and risked himself, made him look like a fool to finish 17th and not win it, to give us the best chance to win that Europa League. And it was our best shot, and it was the right thing to do.
And also, like, in many years to come, when we're looking back on this, like, is anyone going to be talking about finishing 17th in the league, or is everyone going to be talking about, that night in Bilbao?
Where did we finish in 84? No one remembers. It doesn't matter.
I don't even know where we finished in 84.
Exactly. So that's what I'm saying. No one remembers. It doesn't matter. It matters the glory.
And also, and I think it's important to note, the great managers of this football club, Bill Nicholson and Keith Birkinshaw, they're the most successful managers in the history of this football club. Keith Birkinshaw took us down. If he was managing us in the social media generation, he would never have survived. Bill Nicholson as well. These two managers, apart from Ange, had the two worst league campaigns for us in our history. Just let that sink in. Let that sink in.
And also our two most successful managers as well.
Exactly.
Melon Caton Yates says, to me, this starts with a simple question. Do the players want to be successful next season? If you think the answer is no, then fair enough, we can't agree. But if the answer is yes, then you have to ask yourself why the players want Ange to return. The players want success. They know Ange as a manager better than any one of us fans, and they want Ange back. That should be enough. What is it that someone in the Ange out camp knows that the players don't?
Yeah, well, I mean, I was part of the Ange out camp.
You know all the players, do you? Know him, do you?
I was in the Ange out camp, and at the moment in time when I was in the Ange out camp, I could only go on the league form and going out the cup. So that's what I was going on. And if we wouldn't have won this Europa League, then I would probably still be there. But we did win it. It's brought in more time. And also, what I've been thinking about is how much the players are behind him. Everyone is coming out and saying they 100% want Ange to be here next season. Multiple players. Cuti Romero, the journalist, is saying his decision of being here for next season is aligned with Ange Postecoglou's. So that in itself should be enough to tell you that Ange should be here next season.
Agreed. And I think as well, the fact that we've gone through so much pain in the league this season and all this kind of stuff, all the problems that we've had, and we've come through all of it with success, with a trophy, the first trophy in 17 years, with that tangible success, not just form. It's success you can touch, you can feel. You will be up on the wall in the stadium. Like, that is what these players have been through, and these players, they know the form. They know how bad we've been. It's no secret to them. But they haven't turned on the manager. They haven't blamed the manager. They haven't used him as a scapegoat they haven't thrown the manager under the bus like a lot of other previous squads and managers has happened. There hasn't been any leaks about any unhappiness, any of this kind of stuff. And I think maybe part of it is the players taking a bit of responsibility themselves in terms of how the season has gone. Maybe an acceptance of that this unprecedented injury crisis, how much has it affected the team. But I think they know that the football, we've seen it, maybe obviously not been enough, but I do think the football he plays can work. I really believe that. I think we've seen it in fits and spurts. We haven't seen it consistently, but I think when it's on it, it's on it. I think he's shown adaptations in the Europa League as well. And I think the players can see all that. They fully believe in him. When he now, because he said, you know what he said, I always win things in my second season. He actually did it. It's going to make the players believe every word he says now. It's going to give them so much belief in him. And you can just see how much they love him in the celebrations and everything. So for me, I think the players are a good barometer of what's happening in there, and they want him to stay.
Yeah. For me, it's the latter thing, what you said there, the adaptations that he's shown. I think that goes a long way to instilling belief in him, in my opinion. And all of you lot that are probably Ange out right now, all of you said would probably, Maurizio Pochettino was a failure at this club because he didn't win a trophy. Well, Ange has done that in his second year.
Exactly. John Gangnapane says, my feeling is that they were intending on sacking him regardless, but the overwhelming outpouring of goodwill the trophy has brought caught them off guard, and now they are rethinking it.
Yeah, I said this the other day, didn't I? And I feel like this is 100% true. I feel like I feel like Levy was ready to wield that axe straight away after the season had finished, and now he sees the togetherness within this squad. He sees the outpouring from the parade and in the stadium on the final day of the season and stuff, all in support of Ange Postecoglou, and it is making him rethink.
I agree with you, but I just don't understand why it's such a surprise to him. I don't understand that. I just don't understand
I feel like he saw probably noise around the club being like, even if we win it, we don't want him to stay 17th of league form this season. Everyone's so apathetic towards his club and towards his team all season. And then we win the trophy in it and it's all changed. I mean, look, it's a surprise to me. Like, even I was saying it myself. Like, even if we win this tournament, I won't want him to stay. But like, after experiencing it all and seeing the adaptations, now I want him to stay. So I think he was probably thinking of the same line.
Fair enough. I just don't think it's. I don't think they should see it as that much a surprise that there's going to be a big clamour for him to stay.
How many people have you seen and spoken to has said that even if we win this trophy, I want him to go?
Yeah.
And how many of those people now are saying Ange in?
It's true. A lot of them have flipped. There has been a massive pendulum swing overnight, really.
That's what I'm saying. So that thought process is probably within the boardroom as well.
Yeah. But I'm saying if I could predict it, I don't see why they can't.
Well, you were the only one. That's the whole point. You were the only one.
Fair enough. Young Meldrew says, Ben contradicting himself. 1 minute he says Ange should stay, and a few moments later he refers to the fact that he could have been sacked on a number of occasions due to his poor man management and the issues. Unless there's a wholesale improvement in the quality of the squad, next season we'll see the same struggles. It's clear that even his first 11, when fit, isn't good enough to execute his style of play. Too many unforced errors, bad decision-making, no cutting edge up front. So there is any evidence to suggest Ange can coach improvement in the players. I don't see it. I don't see Levy spending what's needed to substantially improve the squad either.
Why is that a contradiction?
Why is it a contradiction?
Ange should stay, but it's a fact that a number of times throughout the season he could have been sacked because of the league form. That's not a contradiction.
It's not a contradiction, no. I guess he sees it as for some reason.
Yeah, that's not a contradiction at all. Like, I want him to stay because of what I witnessed, and I've witnessed the glory, and I feel like with the togetherness within the camp, with all the a lot of the section of the fan base now on board with it, I think he's bought himself time to stay. Not to say that next season, if we get off to a rocky start and in October, November we're sitting in the bottom half of the table, that he won't deserve to go again. But right here, right now, he deserves to stay.
But what is clear that even when first 11 is fit, it's not good enough to execute your style. But I think it is, and I think it has shown to be, by and large, in my opinion, when the first 11 is fit, more often than not, we're quite good. I think, in my opinion.
But what he says about wholesale improvements, that's
we need that.
True.
We definitely need improvements. We need better players. But like in that Europa League one, we were good. Also, everyone says in that Europa League one, it was like the whole thing was just, it was not Ange ball and he was just defended. It's not true. If you look at all the home games, we were very attacking, like in quite good in those games.
I think that when they say that, they're talking about the away games.
I know, but that's okay. So in the away games we played a different style, which is fine. But I'm just saying that's not the case for all of the games.
Forget Ange ball. Like, it doesn't matter if he's playing Ange ball or he ditches philosophy or whatever. We were calling for adaptations throughout the whole season, and when he finally uses it and finally uses it to a success, you can't beat that with a stick. Beat him with a stick. Beat that with a stick. You know what I mean?
I know. And
beat him with a stick with that.
It's almost like they're saying, and if he doesn't win now with Ange ball, then nothing else matters.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Like after calling yourselves for him to adapt and saying all good managers adapt, and then he adapts. Oh, but you didn't win it with Ange ball, so what? You're admitting your way of playing was useless. It's like you can't win with these people.
If you learn from your mistakes and you correct them and you show success with it, then surely that gives you hope that we can move into the next season. We can do something.
That's for me. It does. Andrew 5343 says, I was Ange out, but he did what he said he was going to do. Give him one more season to prove us wrong. Big up, Andrew 5343. An Ange out convertee. Been a lot of these people. Manzura Hamed 3383 says, how long do you need to do a proper rebuild, which should have been begun when Poch was here? Howe took 3 full seasons before he won and not playing in Europe. Ange won a European trophy after 2 seasons. The players are on side because he has delivered success without our best midfielders.
Yeah. And a lot of, without our best defenders as well. Well, I mean, he had the best defenders for the cup run, but throughout the whole season he didn't have that. And when Howe didn't have his best team last year, he had a massive drop off as well. So I mean, injuries do come to play. Finishing 17th is obviously, that's a massive blot against Ange in terms of his tenure here. But yeah, look, we need to see a lot better next season. That's the reality. And if we don't, then he'll suffer the same fate as every other manager. But I'm just going to back on the side of the glory and say he's going to do it.
How many managers have won made a European trophy in within 2 seasons in top 6? Mourinho didn't he?
Di Matteo.
Mourinho, Di Matteo. Who else?
Who else has won the Europa League in the big clubs?
Just Chelsea, isn't it? Chelsea
Is it
and
Chelsea?
Liverpool.
Yeah, Liverpool was a while ago though. I don't remember.
Man
the
United,
manager
obviously.
situation. It's not Pep. Pep hasn't.
Pep
Not
and
many.
Klopp. Yeah, not many.
Not many.
I'm who was this? Oh, yeah, Man Bear Pig 6329 says, I'm fine with giving Ange another go. The question we have to ask though is whether Levy and Enoch are going to properly back a manager on a short leash.
Yeah, that is another question. But I do feel like a lot of the players that we've signed anyway can work under multiple different managers. It's not just a case of they're bought for Ange and they can't work under any other manager, Like, the reality is, if Ange leaves, we need to carry on that kind of same philosophy and front foot attacking football where these same players can work in the next manager's system. Everything needs to work together.
Yeah, agreed. And I think I understand what they're saying, like, are they really going to back him? But yeah, hopefully the players we sign, like, let's say are they really going to give him 70 million to splash on Eze? But Eze should be able to play for any manager. Even if you get a back 3 manager, Eze can play in that system as well. Like that's the kind of players we should be going for this summer. So I don't buy this. They're not going to give Ange the money to spend because he's on a short leash. Like, all the players that we should sign this summer under Ange should work anywhere under any manager.
We signed Porro for Conte.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And it worked. And it worked for Ange. He made it work.
We signed a doggy for Conte.
So they should be giving money. They should know, regardless of who the manager is, we need serious investment this summer if we're going to be competing on the Champions League front and Premier League front, all the cups as well. We just need more depth and we need more quality for the first team. And last one, where is it gone? Last one is May Fellows says the club didn't finish top 4 in the Prem. It needed a trophy. Ange delivered in 100 games with an injury crisis, average squad, no Kulu, Madison and Bergvall in the final. Get a grip.
100%. A lot of Spurs fans need to get a grip right now. This is all we've wanted for so long, and yes, it's come with an unwanted kind of record in terms of our worst league campaign ever. But we just got to pray and hope that it was the injuries that put us in this situation. And you can't discredit a Europa League trophy. First time since 1984. It's such a big occasion, such a big moment for this football club. And to say that Ange needs to go off the back of it, I just think it's absolutely ludicrous.
Yeah, absolutely agreed. All right, that's all the comments.
All right, that is the way you reacted to in the comments